Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from AFP via Yahoo News written by Fiatra Gibbons. And this was published on April 18th. Now, what's funny is the Mueller Report didn't give them the what they wanted on going after Trump. So now they got to recycle this shit of this idea of hatred of journalists turning to violence, Watchdog warns. And it's funny because, look at right here from the video. Hatred of journalists whipped up by populist and authoritarian leaders. See, these people have no agency of their own. And what's funny is their example, like the big one that's being used in this, is that guy who tried to get the paper to retract some shit and then went like in on a shooting spree, and they're trying to link it to this shit. It's like to this idea that, oh, Trump radicalized him, when that was already debunked back then. But they expect people to have short memory spans, which in a lot of cases they do. So anyway, hatred of journalists whipped up by populist and authoritarian leaders is degenerating into violence across the world. Media watchdog Reporters Without Borders warned Thursday. Oh yeah, reporters are fucking feeling threatened here because of big, bad, evil Trump. There has never been an attack against a journalist that was brought on by, with a sane person or whatever, and Trump had involvement to it. There was, it was a factor to it. But they try to link Trump to every fucking thing that they can. All right, Christchurch, Trump, even though the guy basically said Trump, he doesn't like him. This is ridiculous. How they try to do this shit. They link him to stuff that literally has nothing to do with him. And the number of countries where journalists can work safely is plummeting. Its annual World Press Freedom Index revealed. Political leaders' hostility towards the media has incited increasingly frequent acts of violence that have fueled an unprecedented level of fear and danger for journalists, the report added. I love this. These people create this situation. They lie through their teeth. They're propagandists. They push like ideology over facts these days. And then they wonder why people might be a little bit pissed with them. And then they take the fact that these people are pissed with them as a threat to them. Now, you think if they just reported non-biased and ethically and stated what the facts were, they wouldn't have to worry about people maybe getting upset with them for being propagandist lying shitbags. Just a thought. And this idea of political leaders. Okay, compare North Korea to the United States, why don't you? Which is actually what they're kind of trying to do here, backhandedly. It's so sad. If the political debate slides towards a Civil War-style atmosphere where journalists are treated as scapegoats, then democracy is in great danger, RSF Chief Christophe Delors said. With a name like that, and this being France, AFP, which is a French publication, are you worried that the Yellow Jackets are sick of your shit, pushing the globalist crap, and, basically you tried to say, why don't you go learn to code, eh? And they went, us go learn to code, motherfucker? And they took to the streets? You kind of had your own moment of that. And what are you fearing that? You don't like the fact that the people are sick of you feeding them bullshit? And they're not buying into it? So you feel threatened because they're not buying into you lying to them? Could it be that, Christophe? You Frenchman, huh? Press freedom was in good health in less than a quarter of 180 countries covered by the index, with the United States sliding to 48th place. Well, which is kind of funny considering that the government, they're conflating the United States with other nations where the government goes after the press. Nowhere has the government gone after the press in the United States, really. Except for this bullshit thing that the deep state's doing because they know Trump is damned if he pardons Assange, damned if he doesn't, using the computer fraud, whatever the hell it is, the law that they got Kevin Mitnick with. Shit. The Computer Fraud Act or whatever the hell it is. But That's what they're probably judging that on. And Trump really has nothing to do with that. This is payback for what he did when it came to the neocon, neolib agendas, their agenda. Literally, because he how do I put this nicely? Assange and WikiLeaks bent over the people in the Bush administration and baby Bush himself, along with Obama, Hillary, and others in his administration, bent him right the fuck over and fucked him up the ass with some of the shit he's exposed. And these are people that you don't want to do that to. So if they use that as an example, you really can't, because it's the deep state doing this, because they know Trump can't really do much of anything at this point with him. The period since President Donald Trump's election in 2016 has been one of American journalism's community's darkest moments, the report added. Why? Because they're getting called fake news for being fake news? Because they are literally propagandists who push bullshit, who push lies and other misleading things that align with their ideology because they don't like Trump, and because they're doing that, Trump says, hey, you're fake news, and calls them out for it? Is this why you're trying to say that it's the community's darkest moment, because they're no longer the fourth estate and people see them for being the full of shit bags that they are? Because, I mean, if you're a shit bag, of course you're going to be full of shit. It linked the president's notorious anti-press rhetoric with the terrifying harassment aimed particularly at women and journalists of color. Bullshit. Anti-press rhetoric. Oh my God. Because Trump is calling out the fake news for being fake news. Somehow it's caused harassment aimed at women and other quote unquote, like minorities, like, color journalists of color. Give me a break. This is fucking hilarious. Murder and threats. I love how then they move into this murder and threats thing after saying that. Never before have you as journalists been subjected to so many death threats or turned so often to private security firms for protection, it added. Oh, well, if they were honest and not biased, and they weren't pushing lies and propaganda, then they wouldn't have to fear for their safety. Don't you think there would be a reason? And they actually don't have to fear for their safety, because you only have whack jobs who have like personal beef with a particular publication causing shit. But you try to use that as this idea of radicalization and shit like that. And this idea of private security. You know what? They're a business. They should have security on the premises, regardless. Hatred of the media is now such that a gunman walked into the Capital Gazette newsroom in Annapolis, Maryland, in June and killed 4 journalists and other staff members, the report added. Yes, the one that you're trying to link to Trump that had nothing to do with Trump, that was proven to have nothing to do with Trump when it happened, because you expect people to have short memories, or in the case of being AFP, you don't expect the French to actually know what's going on in the United States, which in this case they probably don't, because I'm sure feeding this to the French, they don't know the context of that. They don't know that this guy was mentally deranged and had requested them to print a retraction and did not. And they basically told him to go fuck himself. And he went, oh, no, go fuck me? No, go fuck you. And he went in and shot the place up. Let's be honest about that. Because we need a little honesty here. Because this is why people don't like you guys. Because you're not honest. The Paris-based Watchdog fears that the rising tide of strongman leaders no longer seem to know any limits, citing the gruesome murder of the Saudi columnist Jamal Khashoggi in Istanbul. Khashoggi, sorry. Anyway, this idea of now they're trying to compare Trump to Saudi Arabia, not exactly known for its human rights, not exactly known for its press freedom. Do you love this conflation that they got going on here? India, the world's biggest democracy, slid 2 notches further into the red zone at 140th place. Okay. Again, you're still trying to push this narrative that Trump caused this, but this makes absolutely no sense that this is happening in India, but it's because of Trump. Okay. 6 reporters were murdered there last year, and RSF said critics of the Hindu nationalism espoused by its ruling party are branded as anti-Indian in online harassment campaigns. So basically, someone who criticizes the idea of Hinduism and nationalism gets called out, has people not agreeing with them, actually disagreeing with them, and that's somehow fucking harassment these days. This is what's funny. In online harassment campaigns, you mean someone sees their comment on Twitter, they don't like it, and other people see it and they don't like it, so they all decide to comment, but that's a harassment campaign. This is fucking hilarious horseshit. Oh my God. Turkey, the world's biggest jailer of journalists, was among the worst countries. And they're trying to compare Turkey and Saudi Arabia to Trump and the United States for him calling them fake news when they're being fake news in the legacy media. Go figure. RSF said repression continued to tighten on the few critical outlets that remain, with its biggest media group taken over by a pro-government conglomerate. It has also the dubious honor of being the only country to prosecute a journalist for reporting the Paradise Papers offshore investment leaks. Again, that's Turkey. We know Turkey is not known for their press freedom. You see, you're making comparisons with like Turkey and Saudi Arabia to the United States when there is no comparison. You've got these freaking out Frenchmen in Paris looking at these yellow jackets on the streets going, we can't lie to them. They're not buying into our shit. They're not cutting off the streets. We're no longer the ones who can control them. And they're freaking out about it. That's what this is about. This is about the fact that they no longer have any semblance of power or control over a large swath of the population, especially in the West. And they don't like that. So because they don't, and people are thinking for themselves and calling them full of shit and calling them fake news, to them, that's threatening them because you're not buying into their bullshit anymore. And when they sling it, you call them out for it. So they feel threatened. So they basically try to portray this idea of like Trump is causing threats to the press because they're lying to people and people don't like it. Go figure. Africa's ups and downs. Another former Soviet republic, Turkmenistan, has sunk to the very bottom of the ranking, supplanting North Korea because of its disgraceful and relentless repression of reporters. Its near neighbor, Tajikistan, where most of the independent media has been forced to close, fell 12 places, sitting just above Libya, Egypt, and Azerbaijan. It's funny. They're trying to compare the United States to North Korea, Tajikistan, Libya, Egypt, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, North Korea. This is how deranged they are. This is literally how deranged they are. They're trying to say a country with a First Amendment that allows for a free press, the government cannot stop, is on the same level as countries where the government does everything to stop the press being free. Let that fucking sink in here, people. Because it's some twisted, demented shit that they would actually try to do this. But the news was not all bad from the old Soviet Empire, with Armenia jumping 19 places to 61st after its Velvet Revolution, and I'm going to butcher this, Kyrgyzstan also climbing 15 after it ended travel bans and the threat of levying astronomical damages on reporters. The previously dire situation across the border in Uzbekistan has also somewhat improved due to the thaw that began after dictator Islam Karimov's death in 2016, the report added. Yeah, these are countries that they're trying to compare the United States to, which cannot go after the press because of the First Amendment. You gotta love this. This is how deluded these people are. Trump literally has them trying to compare these countries like North Korea and China and Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan, all these countries with shitty press, to the United States. Because he calls out the legacy media for being fake news. Because it hurts your feelings. It really hurts their feelings. It upsets them. They got to go to their safe space. Seltzer goes, according to what Mark Dice is saying, into his office after the Mueller report and downed a dozen donuts or some shit like that. This is how deluded they are. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. Mark, he's probably joking about it, but hell, if this is true, it just goes to show how fucking fragile these people are. And because they're so fragile, people not liking the shit that they're doing is a threat to them for some demented, deluded reason. Oh my God. But there was little to cheer about in China, which remains rooted to the bottom of the list with the 4th worst record. Totalitarian Eritrea was even worse. Indeed, some of the sharpest falls in press freedom were recorded in Africa. Journalists are being attacked with impunity in Tanzania since the President John Bulldozer Magufuli came to power in 2015. RSF warned, branding him a press freedom predator. Yeah, this is the type of guy that they're trying to compare Trump to because he calls, Acosta fake news to his face. Seriously, this is what they're trying to do. It's some twisted shit. The East African country fell 25 places, 3 more than Mauritania, which has locked up a blogger for condemning the use of religion to justify the slavery that is still practiced in the vast Saharan country. Oh, really? This is what's funny is they don't want to talk about what religion that is. Because it's the religion of peace, according to these people. It's the religion that we know it better as is the truck driver of peace religion. The one that if you draw the religious prophet, they threaten to kill you. Or they try to kill you, like that New York broad there. Oh, God, that did the draw contest. Yeah, don't want to talk about that they're using that particular religion, the religion of peace, to enforce slavery. Oh, God. You people are pathetic. Seriously. But the continent also saw some spectacular progress. Ethiopia has jumped 40 places under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, while Gambia has shot up 30, continuing the improvement after the departure of dictator Yahya Jammeh. Angola, too, has seen steady gains. The best performing countries continue to be Scandinavia, with Norway, Finland, and Sweden taking the top 3 places. Yeah, but they don't really have free speech, number one. Number two, the press, they don't talk about the fact that you've got the Swedish government and organizations in Sweden going after anything that's remotely conservative, and that they're just pushing leftist bullshit. They're all feeding the same leftist bullshit to the people. All right, your center left is still far left by our fucking standards for the most part there. So the thing is, how the fuck can you say that they have free press? They're just pushing the same old shit that everyone else is pushing with the globalism and pro-EU and pro-this and these idiots, pro-open borders. Let all these people from the Middle East and North Africa just into our countries. Yeah, that's the shit that's being pushed. Of course, when the government wants that, of course you're going to have a quote-unquote freedom of press there, because they're pushing the shit the government wants. But if they were to go against that, you and I know that they would crack the fuck down in a heartbeat. You and I both know this. Or I should say, you and I all know this, because there's more than one person watching this. Just saying. But yeah, they don't want to talk about that. This just goes to show how delusional they are. Countries that are leftist. Oh, look at how open their press is, because the press is pushing the leftist shit. But Trump, a populist, calling out the legacy media for lying about him and reporting on fake shit and calling them fake news and just not allowing them to get away with their bullshit. He's inciting shit like North Korea and China, supposedly. That's what they're trying to imply here. It's just sad that they're this desperate after the Mueller Report. They don't realize that this is not going to work. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.